It should be completely off.
All right. Good evening. Good evening, Chuempala. Good evening, world. And good evening. Hello again. And good evening all over from anywhere, everywhere you are receiving the signal from. Of course, this is not a signal. We are not on satellite. Wherever you are receiving our broadcast from, thank you very much for joining us here today. We're going to have a very exciting time. And the reason is because our resident MP, you see, we here at TV Bakwetu, we do have a resident MP. I don't know about other shows, but on TV Bakwetu, we have a very special, dedicated MP. And so we are very excited to have him. So he's the person that we talk to and get to receive a little bit of his agenda. I think he's struggling a little bit there, but he's going to come. And so he tells us and updates us on his activities, because we want to more like chronicle how he's doing every week. So every Monday he comes over, he tells us what are his activities, his priorities for the week, for us here at TV Bakwetu, and also for his constituencies in Kankoyo. So TV Bakwetu and the people of Kankoyo are one. We are one people. And so that is why we are very, very happy to have Honorable Heartson Mabeta. But the other thing about Honorable Heartson Mabeta is that he's a Kopala, and I'm looking at his CV, amazing, very educated, very street savvy as well. You know, that is the kind of thing that we like about him. And also he's quite passionate about what he does. And so Honorable Mabeta, welcome today.
Many thanks, Bamusha. Many thanks, Wakanyika. I think it's been 7 days of my absence, but I've been following what's happening in the background. I missed the team. I missed the team.
Thank you. Now, Jerome Kanika, I want you to say hello to your boss, Honorable Heartson Mabeta.
Honorable, how are you? And
yeah, I think Maranariwa Nakasana, but I think today I managed to acclimatize and just get myself going.
Oh, okay. No, I'm happy at least you are representing us very, very well, and I know the people of Kankoyo are in a very good hands, and it's good to show the people that UPND has a credible people like you who are able to articulate issues very well, and as we are getting inspired. Definitely by you, Honorable. And you being my boss, I can't say much. Honorable, you may end up firing me up.
Anyway, Honorable,
Yes.
and Jerome and Gladys and the rest of the TV Bogot family are going to join you and ask you a few questions. And there is a lot that has been going on, but tell us a little bit. Where are you right now?
Okay, yeah, I'm in Senegal. I got an invitation from the Africa Just Tax System. It's a Kenyan-based organization, but with footprints across Africa. Their main objective is to help parliamentarians understand the importance of putting into registration laws which are going to safeguard the taxpayer, being the individual, the company, the country, and the citizens. They want to close the gap between the taxpayer and the citizen so that we find a better, or I can say, a win-win situation for all the three pillars of the economy, being the investor or an employee, the government running collecting the tax from the private sector, and then the citizens, and making sure that those taxes are applied correctly to the intended purposes. So I got an invitation. It came, I think, on Tuesday. It was a bit short notice, but I had to run around to change my passport, do the COVID tests, and other procedures we need to do for you to travel. So we came in yesterday.
So, Honorable, now much passport.
Mkwai.
So bampere ya karashan.
I will take her any type. Now is that double, but passport if you have diplomatic, otherwise you're running Kanyokwenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are some of the duties you are doing in Senegal. How long are you going to be there?
We are here up to Thursday. Thursday, I have to get back because it's a 3 days workshop on integrated. Basically, they're building us our capacity to be able to track illicit financial, financial losses. I think Africa as a whole, Africa loses over 89 billion per year through tax evasions, tax avoidance, illegal tax windows,
and
poor
5
collection.
million kwacha in the house.
$8 billion.
And then 65 million kwacha in homes.
Yeah, but those are small amounts when you look at what Africa as a whole loses. But in Zambia, we lose money through corruption in Zambia. Very little is lost through tax evasion and the other, but the biggest price is corruption, which is also part of the training we are getting here. Why should we have a strong arm against corruption? Because in Africa, corruption has been identified as one of the quickest ways citizens lose their resources through politicians. Politicians are the main drive of corruption in Africa. So it doesn't sit well to many other people who think politics has been shifted from the original version of being public servants to become conduit of corruption.
Yeah. So now, in order for us to cure that, we need people like you, Honorable Heartson Mabeta, becoming politicians. After 2 years or 3 years in power, because at fira pualala sana apparently
Yeah, I think there's a reason why the people of Zambia at one point they are looking for hope, and I think the president has set a strong tone. Who I know has been consistent from the time I get to know him. He has set a tone. We don't expect him to drift away from the tone he has set on corruption. So we are all going to be under the check of his tone. Who are somewhere the strong hands of the government to visit them? You know, he spoke much about fighting corruption in the past, present, and the future. So there's no sacred cow. Whether I commit that corruption after 2 years, I'll be visited, and the Lord's going to take his course. Time for, service leadership, Baba Musha, is now and the future. I think Zambians are not demanding for better attention to their needs. You know,
Right.
Zambians. I think that's something I got from the deliberation we had today. So many people are so proud of what happened in Zambia. It's almost impossible in one of these countries to change leadership, to change political parties the way it did in Zambia. So Zambia has been set as an example. And they have warned us to say, your people have now become more alert. For them to be able to do what they did on 11th August, it means it can happen to any political party. So you need to listen more to them, because those people, people can't take for granted. They have woken up and now understand what is important to them. So it shouldn't be honeymoon for you to start looking at what PF didn't do right, but it's about listening to them and doing what they want. Because those people are very much alert. I think everybody's proud of the way the Zambians voted. We should be proud of ourselves, Musha.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Mabeta, there is a lot of issues going on in the UPND at the moment. What's your take on what is going on?
Yeah, I think we're still settling down, Mamusha. We are still settling down, trying to get things right. We are still mixed up with the way maybe people are doing and trying to understand it and adjust to what really the UPND agenda is. So there's a lot of crossover, in the crossover period, from the PF-led the way of administering things to the UPND what we want to put on the table. So you find that a lot of things are not yet in place. There's, I can say, impulse. There's a bit of frustration. There's reaction. There's impatience creeping in. So there's a lot still going through the UPND family. So it will take a bit of time for us to really settle down as a political party and be seen like a ruling party. We are still having that hangover of the opposition. In opposition for a long time, Vamusha. So it's going to take a bit of time for us to just settle down and start behaving like the ruling party.
There's been 3 very excellent choices of personnel today, and I would like to commend the president for appointing Mr. Mulilo Kabesha as Attorney General. Excellent choice. He's a very senior lawyer. He has respect of the bar. So an Attorney General is a leader of Zambian lawyers. So I think it's a very good choice. So we commend. And then we also commend the youthful Marshal Mujende. A very, very good youthful choice. Is Marshal Mujende youthful?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So Marshal Mujende kamleta munjeleleko nachimona kwatna but I think he's youthful. He's a good guy, and we've seen the kind of struggle that he has done for the party, right? And so we are hoping that he's going to translate that hard work that he did for the party and for his clients, and he's going to transform it to the state. And so we wish him all the best. And of course, the return of Denny Kalialia, which is quite amazing at the Bank of Zambia. I think this is a very good team that has been assembled today. We look forward to more things that are going to happen tomorrow. And so we encourage the president to continue doing the right thing for the country he sought to protect. And so I agree with you, Honorable Mabeta, that the UPND still has a little bit more settling in to do. And we as TV Makwet, we are here to encourage, because in a sense we feel like this is our baby. And Mama Honorable Mabeta, pano. Tatumfokona kalimo, we are just, no. We took this revolution seriously and personally, and so we want to see that things go very well. And so you have our backs. You people that are in government, Honorable Mabeta, you have TV Bakweto's back.
Yeah,
sorry, we have your back.
No, I think we need each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. We need each other. And that's why I'm here every Monday to just continue engaging. I think just like you've said, the Bank of Zambia governor, the man who's been there in the Minister of Finance, he has worked with the current Minister of Finance. He's been in the Bank of Zambia like all his life. He's worked for IMF. He's a man equal to the task. The people tried to frustrate him. They really did get him out, and you could see who they replaced. That's a man of such caliber, and we all understand his firing. It was not political, but I think we have the right person now who's going to determine and make sure that our finances are well managed. I think in illicit financial transactions, we find that most of these losses we make in the country, they are through white collar crimes, which, as you say, there's a time educating us on how difficult it is to prove with a white collar transaction. Just to prove that someone stole or someone really didn't get that money, obtain that money genuinely, it's very difficult. So when you have the right people in the right place, you have got the Anton General, the appointment today, even me, I think I'm so happy about them. And that just shows us to say, Bally is a very patient man. He's a man who understands that to get the right result, it's a process. Look at the adoption process of UPND. Look at the adoption process of UPND. MPs are adopted, even those who didn't make it. Take time and look at their profiles. You find that the 2021 adoption process was the best. We did extraordinary. We went deeper than the PF did. We started our adoption from having election at ward level, which has never happened in any political party. So Bally understands where we need to get things right. There's a lot of screening happening in the background right now. There's a lot of information, but I'm telling you, he's a man who reads motive in everything you do. No matter how good you are, but telling stories or you want to backstab someone, he's a man who's going to go through and understand your motive. He knows how he does his things. He's a very patient man. We're going to get things right very soon. Every stage will be moving a step further. We don't want to do things the way the PF did them haphazardly. It ended up being the shortest political party in the history of Zambia. They're only in power for 10 years. Easy come, easy goes.
That's pretty good. So for those that are just joining us here, this is Stevie Bakwetu, Elias Mushe here together with my co-host, and we have our resident MP, Honorable Heartson Mabeta, MP for Kankoyo in Mufulira. Already, Honorable, some people don't know where Kankoyo is. So, Imwebonse, go and get a map of Mufulira. Musonte Papa Kankoyo, Muishire, where Honorable Mabeta comes from. He's MP of Kankoyo, and so we are very, very excited to have him. What we are going to do here, Honorable, is I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Jerome and Gladys. They're going to quiz you more. Jerome already has an agenda because Jerome has got only one agenda, Honorable. Do you know it?
I know.
So
to get rid of the dirt from the carpets.
Yeah. So there'll be that discussion. And then, Honorable Mabeta, we know that you are in Senegal, and at any time that you want to leave the interview, you can do that. We have our TV Bakwetu family that is going to come on, and we are going to carry on with our usual discussions. So please feel free. And so, Jerome, over to you.
Thank you, Bamunshandi. You see, it feels very difficult to start asking questions, especially asking your boss. Yeah, but Honorable, I will try by all means to remain that. Maybe Gladys, she may ask a lot of questions, but me, as a junior, I think I may skip some questions. Honorable, we have seen that most of the people, when they attend, especially these important workshops, like the workshop which you have gone to attend, in Senegal. They just attend and it ends there, and people just get allowances if there are any allowances, and forget about the implementation of whatever things which they do then in those workshops. Are we likely to see the different way of doing things, where whatever you learn there, you try to come and push that there is an implementation of whatever knowledge you get there here in Zambia?
Yeah, I think nga vyafine vakanyika tulanda tisa vidambira kumutwe okuwolai, meaning nangukuwa mesa vidambira kumutwe. I think the president has set it on. The reason I've been invited at Zambia here is because the international community has realized to say we have a president who's so much against corruption and illicit financial transactions. So they're spending on our training, not for the sake of numbers to say when Zambia was represented, but I want to give Zambia as a case study where they invited 3 parliamentarians. Even though there are 3 of us here. There's an MP from Stage young man, also to Ambo Mutinta, and there's also the MP for Kaputa. Chiangi, sorry. Honorable Given Katuka, sorry. Honorable Given Katuka. So the 3 of us is independent, the 2 of us were UPND. So there's this responsibility to see how we are going to implement this program in our country. They want to put Zambia as an example of a country where the tax justice system invited their MPs to be trained, and they saw that corruption was being fought. It was being fought to the bottom of it. So the responsibility on us, as you've said, is not just to come here, get a few pictures about Senegal, then you go back and continue putting adding pictures to your library cells in Senegal. It's about how we're going to interpret and ensure that we push this agenda of eliminating completely illicit financial transactions. In Zambia, our focus is more of corruption, but there's more. There are a lot of companies within the period we want to review, which and the declared tax, some maybe never even declared tax. They never paid any tax to the government. We need to understand. We need to also audit corporate entities. We need to audit Zamtel, Zesco. What was the tax contribution to the treasury during this period? You've seen Mupani have declared the profit now when they've been declaring losses all along. How come? Is it because they're trying to impress the government, or maybe they've been making profits all along? Or maybe they didn't really make the profit. So we need to understand why Mopani today has managed to make profits all of a sudden. So that's part of illicit financial transaction, which we need to understand. Our focus is more on individuals than the process. In Zambia, focusing on Boma and Lusambwa, focusing on Stotera, focusing on this, not looking at the process to get at the right result, without attaching individuals to the process. So we need to have a holistic approach on auditing both corporates. There have been individuals who own companies, but they never used to pay taxes because they are politically inclined. There are those companies which are owned by individuals, never paid any VAT, annual returns, pay as you earn for their employees just because they were politically inclined. So that's part of financial illicit also. So when we're talking about recovering money, it shouldn't just be targeting individuals. We also need to target the corporate world. We need to target institutions. We need to target also organizations which could have robbed the Zambia of a single cent, which could have gone toward the improving of life of citizens at the end of the day.
Okay, Grandis, please, come on.
Good evening once again, Honorable Mabeta, and good evening, viewers.
Good evening.
Yes. Just as you're saying that concerning the corruption, that we do not just focus on individuals but corporates. But don't you think since there's a lot of stirring up in the corruption, and now that with this technology world today, there's a lot of evidence, more or less, which we have, which is in the public domain. Isn't it ideal to start with the individuals, especially within the leaders from the previous regime, where you start with the individuals and get hold of them and investigate them, so that there'll be an example before you move forward to corporates? or what
Yeah.
what kind of you're saying that we're not just following the system, so how are you going to go about it? Because I mean the public is we're really getting desperate if we're seeing things happening in the daylight without we see an investigation like today, and suddenly it just disappears in thin air. So how are you going to start with the corporates before you start to the individuals?
Yeah, I think the point I was trying to put across is we shouldn't focus more on individuals and forget about the processes they use, you know, because individuals don't just work, they don't work in isolation. If a bank was used to commit crime, if a company was used to commit crime, they also need to be brought on board and understand what role they played. Because there are some banks whereby their employees have been unfairly treated because those banks, we saw the MDs, they are frequenting State House. You know, there are those banks, we know them. I personally know them because I come from the banking sector. We saw the MDs frequenting to State House. They sat on employees' salary negotiating. Instead of awarding them 2 years ago, they came and backdated now after the government changed. There have been transfers from this shareholder to the other shareholder. So employees haven't been given their benefits when there's transfer of shares. That money is gone, or maybe employees are still fighting. So there was a lot of financial crimes which are committed in the previous regime, which has hit a lot of Zambians. And those Zambians, they voted to ensure that they are protected. So if we just focus on individuals who are committing corruption, forgetting the processes they use, the channels they use, and leave them in the cleanup, the same people will rise up again as us because they'll feel left out. So when you're looking at individuals, let's not forget the processes, the how part, how they did it. It's also important to understand the how, clean it and close it so that in future we don't have a situation where governance is used as a conduit to commit colossal crime. White-collar crimes are the most complicated crimes, but we need to put an end to them because they damage the economy. Our economy was its knees because of massive white-collar crimes which are committed. They're difficult to see. It's a crime which you can't add, you can't hold to, you can't easily put together and say this is a crime being committed. But you just see the effect on the economy. The economy just starts growing. We saw a situation where the government was struggling to pay back the VAT refunds to the mines with a huge responsibility of reinvesting the money they get from the government when the government pays them back, reinvest in their processes, in their production, so that as they are chasing that increased the production, they end up creating jobs because they need more services and goods to produce what they need to produce. Now the government was holding on to their money. They didn't pay them back. The mine decided to wind up, and we saw what happened on the copper belt. It was disaster. So many people died. So many people lost their jobs. That's because one person decided not to pay back what was due to the mines through VAT refund. That was also something which we need to learn and understand. The impact is on our citizens. Quite well, there was that argument between the mines and the government, whether they should refund them or shouldn't refund them, whether the documents are missing or there's something not. So we need to learn all that, It's about learning so that what needs to be avoided in future, it doesn't happen again. But if we're just going to focus on chasing individuals, we'll lose out on making the process perfect for everyone to benefit.
Yeah, I'll still be on the individual part because when you look at the individuals, I think it will give us link to the corporate, because sometimes you find that those individuals, because they want to be clean, and meanwhile they are the links to the corporates when they're doing big corruption, because they'll be like, okay, I'll be in the background as an individual whilst they're dealing with a corporate. For instance, if they get some kind of contracts, those contracts are being awarded by an individual who's using their post. So I for one, I would think that it's best you start with those individuals in the high position, which will lead you to those corporates in terms of corruption.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, Gladys, on taking the lead. You know, we need to squeeze someone to cry. You need to squeeze. You need to squeeze what you call foot soldiers for them to tell you who their commander is. But as they telling us they are commanders, well, let's not forget about auditing the processes also. What we want to put is an end to this type of robbery to the Zambian citizens. We don't want Zambians to be ever robbed again, regardless of the political party which may come into power. UPND may be here 10, 20 years, but what happens 30 years from now? Are we going back to a situation where you need to change the government for you to understand what was rotten during their stay? It's not right. Zambians, we need to live beyond human beings, you know. We need the processes, we need systems to manage human beings, not human beings managing processes and systems. We don't want every time there should be a change of government to start understanding the corruption. So expensive to start chasing over people. Let the corruption, let the system, let the processes being able to deal with what is being lost there and then than waiting for a change of government. What could have happened if there wasn't change of government this time around? Where could we be today? Continue losing massive millions of money. This country has been robbed. It was bleeding. And the other what I learned today was about commercial loans, how much countries across Africa they're rushing to commercial loans because they know that they're easy to get, and that's where there's a lot of corruption. We all know to say the road sector in Zambia was only used as a conduit for corruption. Today I was just reading a submission where 300 million was allocated to the Mufurira Mukambo Road. 300 million, Gladys. Nothing has been done today. That road is a death trap. Rain next month in October, November. The part of Mukambo and Murundi, they'll be cut off completely from Mufurira. Then they have access to the hospitals. Don't have access to the services the other part of Mufurira provides. People will continue dying over being unable to be treated by malaria. But someone has up to 300 million. Quite well in that report, names have been mentioned. So we're going to follow those names to come and account for that money. Then they will understand the process, how they managed to work away 300 million of the Zambian, of the money meant to uplift the standard of living for the people of Mufurira. Getting individuals, yes, is right. But when you're dealing with financial crime, you don't look at the end result, because if you don't understand the process, they're going to use the process to get away. At the end of the day, whoever is doing the investigation, they'll be deemed incompetent by the people. So before you look at the results, understand the process so that you close everything, Whoever was using the process, the bank which was used to transfer those monies, did they sign the anti-money laundering forms? Was there a procedure to understand why money was being paid quickly and soonest using those banks? Or was the right process followed so that whoever was involved, they can be questioned and we understand?
Thank you. Can I maybe ask a question? It's like, Honorable, we have brought in a very important and very interesting revelation concerning the Mufurira City Makambo road for.
Ndora Mufurira Mukambo Road. Yeah. There are two roads, bad roads.
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah, that one that connects from the airport to Ndola Airport to Mufurira.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm hearing that the contractor was or has been paid the money, but they have not done anything. Is this what you are saying, Honorable? The contractor has been paid, but they have not worked on the road.
Yes, even the last payment of 30 million was done 2 weeks ago. Wow, UPN was in government.
Have you seen boss of Nderandrat prefer kupasati? In that, yeah, it's very funny that people were paid and they have not done the works. And I think I agree with you. We need to mobilize and we need some of these people to be caged so that at least you can learn examples. And I wish this workshop which you're attending, I wish some people from the Anti-Corruption Commission followed and went with you so that they can also then how some of these corruption cases have been done. I feel like the Anti-Corruption Commission is not doing much work concerning especially those politically exposed individuals or persons as compared to non-politically connected individuals. So I don't know, or is it the Anti-Corruption Commission have remained in the UPND, in the PF regiment instead of being in the UPND government? I think those are some of the things that I want to find. I don't know, what's your take, Honorable, over that?
Yeah, I think we had a discussion with one of the hosts in South African, and there's another one from Kenya, because I think Kenya have made headways on these white collar crimes, where they are willing to come and be the hosts. There's a suggestion that maybe we need to extend this workshop and localize it in Zambia for stakeholders to appreciate and understand. And we learn from those countries how they manage to do things quickly, and they manage to reduce, the cases of grand corruption. So we had the discussion. It's not an official discussion, but we had the conversation with them to say, I think when we go back to Zambia, I'll suggest that we can have this same workshop in Zambia and just open, maybe give an opportunity to our investigative wings also to understand and learn from what other countries they manage to do. When it comes to a slow pace, we can never run away from the fact that PF really invested in its people. We cannot go to any institution without finding someone who's aligned to the PF. We go to RATSA, any government institution, they are there, and there are a lot of them. Even if we are to screen, like we do an audit of all civil servants, I can tell you 60-70%, including teachers, cleaners in hospitals. PF pushing so much of its people in the system to say, if we are to now get rid of them completely, even the government would collapse. We can never run away from the fact that PF pushed in a lot of its members in the government system. For you to do anything with the government, you have to be PF first. PF was ahead of the government, So to completely say, no, we don't have PF cadres in the system, we'll be lying. Go to the police. You can get from their language, the tone of their language, everywhere. The PF cadres are there in the system. So it will be up to the people are being given responsibilities to manage those departments, to understand and appreciate, to say not everyone who was employed by the PF, they're really PF, maybe they're looking for a way to get where they are. So it's them they have a lot of homework to do to identify who they can work with, who they can trust, and who they can't trust. It's not an easy job because the whole system is paralyzed by the PF. PF is everywhere. Even when you go into these companies, go to private companies, go to Mopani, go to Airtel, go to Zamtel, go to ZNBC, they're there.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable. Before we go to any other topic, I would like just to continue on the same, the money laundering. Now that there's a lot of things going around where the public is confused, and probably there's a lot of questions. There are more questions than answers. If I take you back to the issue of the 65 million, and it seems like it's slowly drifting away. I don't know whether the government, the current government, intends to amend the constitution concerning the money laundering law, where people where they can avoid people to be keeping such kind of money, because we don't really hear so much about it. It was on a peak and suddenly it starts drifting away. And what's the message to the public, really? Because we have a lot of questions than answers.
Yeah, I think the anti-money laundering law, I think something which is a bit complicated, because once it gives the power to the police or any government agents to repossess what they think has been obtained illegally, that's when they can repossess quite well. They repossess. Now, to prove, to say that money was obtained illegally, it's another thing, You have the money, which you can say this money are going to possess it because of a property. We think you've obtained it illegally. Now, to prove that that person, the burden of proof lies on the accusing hand. To prove that that person really that money, they got it illegally. It's on the person who's accusing that person. That's how complicated it is. So that's why we say we are here. If you think there's any law which we need to be changed to make things better, please shout out. You're going to draft. You're going to propose. Parliament is there to make laws which should respond to the needs of the citizens. So if you think there's a bit of weakness or lacuna in the way, the anti-money laundering and these other laws, which has made it possible for white-collar criminals to walk freely in the street, well, that person who had just stolen a mango bar from the neighbor or a t-shirt from the neighbor is jailed for 15 years, while a person who stole millions from the Zambian people is walking free. You can propose so that we change it. But as it is now, it is complex because we are still using the same old laws, the same constitution, which gives the right to the a person who's accused to be free until proven guilty. You know, you have to prove to say for sure that man was obtained illegally. You can get to the investigating wing, you collect it. That law is there to give you that right to keep the money until you finish the investigation. But now proving to say for sure the person who was found with good sums of money, they didn't obtain that money illegally. It's on the accusing hand than the person who's being accused. And that's why it becomes complex.
Thank you, Honorable. I'll give it back to Jerome. Probably has something to add on, and we can involve the panelists to discuss.
Okay. I think I don't have much. Yeah, it's very difficult to interview your boss. Maybe Patrick, say something about the matter, please.
But Jerome, what do you want me to say to talk about to start with?
No, we have Honorable Mabeta here, and he's attending a nice workshop in Senegal concerning taxes and corruption issues that we need to set out. So maybe if you have any question, I think you can ask. But if you don't have, we can move
No,
to.
I can make some comments.
Okay, no problem.
By the way,
go ahead.
How are you, Honorable Mabeta?
I'm all right, thank you. It's good to be back with you today. I'm
and
so
good
glad
evening.
it wasn't there.
And good evening, fellow Panthers, and good evening, viewers. Mabeta, I think Zambia, we've got a lot of laws. You know, Kanika would support me. We've got so much laws everywhere. But what I've come to discover is it's the issue of some laws needs to be reformed, like the money laundering laws. I think they need to restrict how much money people can carry and enforce it, and also penalties. I've noticed Zambia's got a lot of laws, but there are no penalties. Like, I'll give an example. FIC requires that banks and other institutions, including lawyers, to inform them if they suspect certain transactions, they find suspicious transactions. They have to report, but there are some lawyers who don't report. In the UK, there are similar laws, but if the institutions are not reporting, they can be fined, and it can go up to millions. So if there are no such penalties or strict punishment, then you know, because that's deterrence, then nothing is going to happen. If a lawyer is not reporting holding 100 million for the client cash to FIC, then that lawyer needs to be fined. You know, so that's another point. Bamaveta, corruption. Yes, we're gonna have a problem. We've got a lot of PF people in government, but I think what they need to change is the permanent secretary level and the director level. Those are the two influential people in each ministry. You know, parastatals, they have to dissolve the boards. They have to remove the directors, the CEOs. But, you know, to me, my experience from my accounting experience, systems, they need to be proper systems, processes in place. And those processes have to be adhered to. And there's, in accounting, there's what we call delegation, chains of delegation. So even if you've got corrupt people in PF, if the systems are stringent, they are strong, everything has to be checked, has to be signed by somebody higher than somebody, then corruption can be stopped, even in government. Because I'll give you an example. I was so surprised that whilst UPND is in government, those guys paid $30 million. In other countries, there is no way somebody in the Ministry of Finance would pay 30 million without the president's approval. There are thresholds. So in Zambia, HH would say any payment to any supplier up to 5 million, it has to be approved by the Minister of Finance. Because the director can approve it. The director can only approve maybe 1 million up to 5 million. And then anything up to 10 million has to be approved by the vice president. Anything up beyond 10 million has to be approved by HH. The moment you put those delegation processes, you're going to reduce corruption. You know, and then in like where I work for one of the biggest organizations in the UK, probably in the world. There is no we've got internal auditors within our department. So if anything is a suspicious transaction, somebody reports immediately to the internal audit. And the internal audit will investigate immediately. It might look like it's costing money, but to stop corruption, it requires a lot of money. It requires a lot of investment in the investigative wings, FIC, anti-corruption, and DEC. But then we cannot fight corruption when we've got those DEC people, bosses who are PF aligned. They need to be removed. Those bosses who are PF aligned, you know. So and then, Mabeta, you spoke about tax evasion and tax avoidance. Laws also needs to be strong and also consistent with the mines. There is a lot, you know, a lot of companies. Even here in the UK, we've got problems with transfer pricing. A lot of companies, they've got companies where they in what they call tax havens, so they transfer their profits into those tax havens. So the UK now has put stringent laws to prevent transfer pricing, and also people sending money to offshores where the taxes are low or there is no even tax.
Sorry, Patrick, can you kindly ask if there's a question so that we can touch
I'm just making some comments. So, but Mabeta, it boils down to strong laws, stringent laws, strong laws, reforms, and also consistency in those laws. If a company is doing transfer pricing, there should be a penalty for that. You can even grab their license. We need discipline. I think, to me, that's what is needed. Corruption can be fought, but processes needs to be there. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think you highlighted a lot of things, which I totally agree with you. But also, I think the limitation, does the minister make decisions or a minister is there to supervise? Have we given, does our constitution or our procedures allow a minister to get involved in financial transactions? I remember there's a time the president was opening the workshop for the ministers where he said, you are in that ministry, so you need to know if I supply a pen, which you're supposed to buy for 2 kwacha and buy it 20 kwacha. I know you cannot get involved in the buying process, but you need to know. But to what extent should the minister know, you know? So maybe those are the things we need to start changing and make ministers fully responsible, not them being supervisors, but being controllers. For sure, they cannot do the work, but the ultimate responsibility should be on their head. When we talked about the authorization limits, you know, where at each stage there's an amount which you can approve. I think it has worked well in the private sectors. So we can also suggest that to say, let's have authorization limits so that should there be a fraud conducted, we know who to hold account for. Not whereby to say, don't know it's RDA, no, it's this. There's a lot of finger pointing because there's no one ultimately held for such a transaction. So if there's a fraud which has occurred at a certain level of amount, the person who has that limit should be held accountable there and then without even the need to start chasing who should have been authorized. I think our friends in the PFs are very clever. They knew to say the only way you can run around governance issues is not to put a system in place. Well, there's no system, there's confusion. But if you put a system, that system is going to work against you. I'm sure there are even times when the president is so furious, the president is so upset, but he can't do anything because the law doesn't allow him. That's the beauty of having a system, you know. So I think as UPND, while we are still rebuilding, we're trying to respond to the needs of our boss, who and our employers being the voters. Let's not forget about the need to put up a system. A system costs you a lot, as you have said. A system drains you a lot because there's a lot of thinking done. There's a lot of brainstorming. There's a lot of try and error for you to get the right results. But once you put up a system, the results are permanent. Even when someone wants to come and change the system, you'll be able to say, this type of leadership we have is different because we're able to see the benchmarks. And I strongly believe President HH is equal to the task of setting up a system. For him to have been able to run business for 30 years in different governments, Chiluba government, Kaunda government, PF government, without his business being crashed or I can say being closed, it means he invested in the system. I'm also coming from that end. I've been running my business for 15 years now. The PF failed to close my business because I invested in the system. Even when, with or without my involvement, the business runs. We may not make as much as we could have made due to the supporting government, but it was almost impossible for the PF to walk around and close my business like they are done to Kambwin and others who never invested in the system. So the system is the way to go, both in private and public sectors. Let's invest in the system. It takes time, but the results are permanent. Okay. So I think we need to work on the system. How much are we willing to invest in the system? How much are we willing to invest in the right people in the system? Even the PF, the system will manage them. Those who are in the government, I mean, who are in these processes, but they've got no ability. They'll just find themselves to say the system is not working for them, and they'll be frustrated, they'll be frustrated by the system. So it's a matter of political rhetoric, building a system, and getting the desired results. It's a very complex and a very difficult situation as UPND because we've got people to impress. But we need to work at the system so that we don't also get back to the same stage where PF was. Investing in the system is going to cost a lot of money and time. And a lot of, I can say, you need to have a big heart, a patience to wait. Regardless of what the people tell you, you need to be willing to get their frustration, engage them, and allow them to understand to stay working on the system. Zambia's nature, we don't value the importance of the system. We don't want the system, we want shortcuts. You know, it's there and then the results. We want things to be done there and then. Removing on permanent secretaries, I think there's a process being done. The president is back. We've seen appointments today. I'm sure this week we're going to see a lot of changes. Before the end of the week, by the time we'll be communicating next week on Monday, Kanyika, I think we'll be in a different space. We'll be able to refer to what we are talking about now. I appreciate that. We need to change the system. But believe me, PF are not sleeping. PF, they know what is needed. They know they've been in government more than we are. So they know how to hit us the most. We are now choosing in committees, committees which are supposed to supervise government ministries. You find that the former minister in a certain ministry is a committee leader in a committee which is going to be supervising a ministry. Look at that. They've gone back to hide and come back as supervisors of a ministry where they're working as ministers. What are they doing? They've got an interest to protect that ministry. Why should the former minister be the one supervising, be so much interested, working hard to get support to be the chairman of a committee which will be supervising the ministry where he was working before? He's got interest, he's got people inside the ministry who he wants to be working with. So we're going to have a minister who's just a figurehead, while the employees, the staff in that ministry, they're reporting to the former minister. He's still running that ministry. You see how much they're maneuvering. So they're not sleeping. I think maybe our patience has given PF to wake up from their hangover. The Zambian people hit them hard. They didn't expect it. They became a little bit lost. So that the hangover where they didn't know what to do. But quickly they will organize themselves and they're back in government by knowing to say the direction we're going to take is let's scramble operations by taking using the law these important streams so that they can continue controlling the government. It's their right. It's their right. They can aspire to be a chairman for a certain ministry. There's no limitation, but they just like the moral, It's just like the moral part of it in life where you can't do something because it's not right. It's not about the process not allowing you, but you just say, no, I've got a conflict here. I was the Minister of Commerce and Trade. There's no I can become a watchdog for that ministry where I was already the minister. So declare interest. There's a point in life where you just have to declare interest. They can't do this because I've got an interest. But they're back. You see when those ministries, those committees start coming out. You see the people who be the chairman of those committees. They're former ministers. Most of them have gone back to their ministry. They are pushing hard to become chairman for those committees so they can continue controlling the ministries where they are ministers, but they are back as chairman for controlling committees. So that shows how the people are trying to do how craft they are. They understand the system and they're quick to pull a string on us. We're still starting the system. Them that are using it, they know how to abuse it. So it's quite complex, but there's hope. There's hope. What's important is the tone you set. As a government, if we set a tone, say zero tolerance to corruption, we'll continue building on that. Eventually, the Zambians will support our move, and the system is going to get rid of them eventually. But it's not going to be an easy battle. PF is not going down easily. We shouldn't even think you have defeated PF. There's a lot of internal war we need to fight, especially we, the people, have given us a responsibility to perform your duties. You have a lot of work to do. You shouldn't go to sleep. Otherwise, we'll be shocked to find that PF bounces back. They can shock us. We are creating history in Zambia. It will be shock after shock. So if we go to sleep and think all is well, going to honeymoon, time to please cadres, time to please those who helped us form government and forget doing the right thing, PF can shock us. And to be a shock of our life because no one would want to see PF back in the corridor of power. But believe me, they're not sleeping. They're working hard. They're working hard. They've regrouped. They know what needs to be done. They're moving slowly. While we are still thinking or learning how to do things, them they're advancing. So let's not sleep. Let's not be comfortable. Just rather PF is rising again slowly.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mabeta. And it's such a wonderful point you have raised there, where you've realized that PF have been in the government for a very long time, and that they are really not sleeping. But I think probably the general public is kind of confused, because as I hear you talking, because that you are aware of what is happening, but we're seeing a difference from other leaders, that they are not showing the same thing, that they are aware. They, as from the general public, they see a lay back of the new government, who is probably, some of them, they are not doing much. They are not pushing as PF is pushing. As you are saying that we may be surprised that they bounce back, which means you've opened up your eyes and you can see that they've been in the government for a very long time. So really, we really need to be vigilant as well. And those are the things which the general public is probably not seeing. So we are kind of lacking information. We also, as a new government, needs to push for communication, educate the public, show them what you are doing, as you know that the PF is also doing something, because they know where to hit you. Anyway, I won't say so much because we, on the agenda, we also have topics like the new Bank of Zambia governor and the new AG, the new SG, and now we have our President Bally coming back from the United States. So I would like Kelevai to say something. Kindly, probably try to be brief so that we can give also an opportunity to others to comment on the topic. You can just pick any of the topic, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gladys. Good evening, Honorable Mabeta.
Good evening, Woman Kelevai.
It's good to see you. Welcome back. And yes, and good evening, fellow panelists. My concern, I think Gladys has already alluded to it, to say there has been a little bit of lagging behind these ministers that we have today, that are of the new dawn. They are somehow the enthusiastic that these guys had, that HH has. We see it very low in our current ministers. I wonder why, whether they're still trying to learn how to do things. As one of my panelists said last night, to say they had time, they knew actually somehow that they were one day going to form government, and they ought to have already ought to see. Now that you are in the government, my question is, what do you take of Honorable or the provincial provincial chairman Mwali Teta? He came out so strongly, and this is what we have been looking forward to from UPND. And now that he's retaliating in that manner, or he's coming up with all his rants, and which are genuine, what is your position, Honorable, over his cases of wanting to prosecute those that committed heinous crimes like murder and all kind of illicit activities by you, the current regime? Thank you.
Yeah, I think many thanks for that question. We still need to understand the difference between the government and the political party, and how much the political party has got influence in the governance system. Okay, I personally, I would want to see more of the SG, because the SG has been quiet for some time, which makes it a bit. He should be the engine of the party. You know, we are in the registration. The SG needs to continue running the party and ensuring that the party and the government, they remain in one accord. So I want to see more of the SG maybe coming on board. The SG, while not commanding the government or being the one running the government, but having a stake, because the SG still holds the manifesto of the party. It still holds UPND as a political party, not as a government. So we need to find a working relationship between the government and the SG for the party, so that the SG can continue being, maybe I can say, a watchdog, or being able to propagate the UPND agenda while we're still in government. So I think that's the missing link. Hence, we end up seeing now the provincial chairman. Maybe the next we're going to see the district chairman. We're going to see a ward chairman. Getting entangled in pronouncing policies which could be in conflict with what the government is trying to put in place. Honorable Mwali Teta was misquoted. Yeah, I was misquoted on the issue of putting up Bugadas going back to the market. But him calling for prosecution of those who committed crime, it's right. Every citizen has the right. He's a Zambian and he's our chairman who understands what UPND stands for. But again, his pronouncement should be seen like supervising the government institutions. So there's a thin line between demanding and supervising. Because if the government institutions are going to react towards him, it will be as good as we have cadres running the government. Because I personally believe a cadre is a person who supports a certain movement. Although we have changed the narrative of a thug to be a cadre, those are not cadre, they're thugs. Political cadres are just members of a political party. You know, political cadres are members of a political party who believe in the ideology of that political party. So if you're going to allow provincial ministers, district chairman, ward chairman giving directive to government institutions which are there to protect the interests of Zambians, DEC is not a UPND institution, so it shouldn't be supervised by UPND. You're going back. We're going to create a system where now cadres are coming back in the government. You know, a lack of systems it starts like a cancer. It starts slow. Starts at what level? You break the system there, then the system grows. So we don't want to go back to a situation where we have UPND members commanding or giving directives to government institutions to execute their jobs. So there's a thin line where we need to have a limit on how we should do, how UPND members can co-cadres or structures, the chairmen, treasurers, and whatever can engage the government in ensuring that we represent the needs of the people. So we need to find a thin line on how we are going to engage. Otherwise, we'll disturb the system that's from there. If Honorable Manitet as a provincial chairman or any other provincial chairman for UPND wants to give their opinion on the current affairs in the country, what procedures need to be followed so that we don't find ourselves entangled or busy explaining ourselves as both the government and the political party? So I think the SG needs to come to the party. The SG needs to more of be seen as the leader of the political party, and let him run the party so that everyone has the confidence to say, but the SG office, which is operational, other than having now people crossing over and they end up doing his job and they may end up doing it wrongly, you know. Our SG is a very stable man. We are so confident that he's equal to the task, but he needs to be a little bit more aggressive or let him come out. I know the statement he gave, the time he gave a statement on what the president is going to settle. From that time, we seemed disturbed and maybe that didn't augur well. So we need to support him. We need to win back his confidence. Let him feel part of the government so that he can give us direction on the party affiliated statements or program.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I think this time I'm going to make a gender balance, and kindly, Linda Banks, do you have anything to comment? We have 3-4 topics, and the new Bank of Zambia appointments, and then new AG, new SG, and the comeback of our president, HH.
Absolutely. I've got so many questions, and I've been reading comments from the viewers. Bashombo Mlishan.
Guys,
exactly. Panel to family. Heartson is my brother-in-law, so I'm a little bit biased, and I've got so many questions for him, but I will keep it very brief.
Okay.
You've attended a couple of sessions, parliamentary sessions, I believe, haven't you?
Yes, I've done. Yes.
Okay, good. So my first question is, have you had any kind of chit chatter about what really is going on within the UPND? There's been so much mess in regards to communication. Things are coming out that shouldn't be coming out. People are speaking on behalf of the governments that shouldn't be speaking. There seem to be lack of order. So that's my first point. And my second point is going back all the way to Mafken. In the past couple of days, there had been a few videos that have been circulating of some youths complaining about corruption taking place in the UPND. So I'd like you to shed a bit more light on that. So those are my two questions. And I just want to quickly read a couple of statements from our viewers. One is from Joe Flynn. He says the individual is part of a bigger system. This is talking about corruption that you were talking about and the different systems. What's the best way to deal with this? So he said the individual is part of a bigger system. So when you look at the system, you need to look at the individual as well. But if you look at the individual in isolation, then the system will remain vulnerable to abuse. That's the first one. I would like you to just comment on that. Then Sampa Chungu Jr. says, Mwali Teta for SG, UPND, the man is putting across valid points. So you could comment on that. And then the last one from Peter Kafwimbi, he says, Honorable Mabeta, this pilfering will continue until the government realizes that people need to be managed first, and you may use the process to reinforce any policies that are in place. And that's it from me for now.
Okay. Wow, quite a number of
I know, sorry. Start with the Mufulira one. What's going on?
I think Mufulira is a case of what I can say is there's a bit of discontentment. People are upset, they're not happy. We expected to win a minimum of 2 seats in that town. I think it was well known to say Kantanshi it's going to be UPND, PF, because Anthony Mumba done his groundwork, so we cannot take away that from him. Then in Mufura Central, we all expected it to be a UPND seat, but maybe we didn't handle it well. The adoption, the alliance, we had candidates who decided to go independent. At the end of the day, we lost a seat due to the division of having splitted the not too strong candidates from UPND. Then the PF won it because of a divided front. So that's frustration, I think, is gripping people. Hence, they're losing a bit of pressure. There's still a lot of finger pointing on how we lost that seat. I think even Kankoyo, if we didn't have to fight hard, I'm sure you've been following what was happening. Kankoyo could have also lost it. We could have, we almost lost that seat. It was UPND from the beginning, but because of the internal fighting, personal interest, pushing each other around, we ended up losing with a very minimal margin, you know. We gave up the seats at councillor level. In Kankoy, out of 9, we only have 2 councillors as UPND, the other 7 they are PF. So that just shows you to say on the grassroots, in terms of what level, we lost the election because the councillors are still PF. Even if I'm MP, UPND MP, but the councillors are PF. So the PF, they still have influence on the council level. Well, even in Kankoy, where we say we have a UPND seats, the councillors are PF. So as UPND, we don't have a grip where we can say Mufria is really UPND. Why? Because out of the 30 councillors in the district, 21 are PF. So PF is still controlling the chamber. We are very lucky we managed to win the mayoral seat and me as the MP. But the majority are PF. Out of 3 constituencies, 2 are PF. Only 1 is UPND. Even in a UPND seat, majority of the councillors are PF. So PF too have a lot of influence there. So there's a lot of, frustration. There's a lot of discontentment, finger pointing. Where did we go wrong? So I think the party needs to reorganize itself, take that case study seriously, and go and sort out that problem before it can crumble the party. You know, Mufira is a very delicate town. It's a town where politically revolution have started there. Even Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, the first seat in Mufira, Kaunda started from Mufira. Michael Sata started in PF for this second seat after the election. The first by-election, they won it in Mufira. The first seat was in, is it Mansa? But the second seat, still a by-election, was won in Mufira. So historically, Mufira is a special place where politics starts and ends there. So as a party, if you're not going to handle Mufira well, we may find that the beginning of the end of UPND starts right there in Mufira. So there's a lot of work which needs to be done to go and sort out that case study. I'll leave it up to there. I don't want to say much because I'm an interested party. Yeah. Then when it comes to Maliteta for SG, I think maybe just a little bit fast. We have the SG.
That was from one of the viewers.
Yeah, no, I'm responding to them. Yeah, we have the SG who's equal to the task. Let's give him time and maybe confidence for him to be able to do things right. I'm sure what all of us in UPND don't want to do is to do the wrong thing. You know, we're so scared of making a mistake because that mistake can cost your career. We've been in the opposition for too long, and no one would want to be fired in the soonest possible time. So enough being too careful, we end up being ineffective. So we need a bit of working, space where
we need to give people room to maneuver and to.
Yeah, you can make a mistake, and that mistake will be viewed as a normal mistake as part of your learning process, not as a means of getting you, out of. We all want to continue being part of the ruling party, but we're not ready to make mistakes.
That's very true, actually, Heartson. A very good example, again, is the Minister of Information. Someone actually commented, we haven't heard from her since she made a mistake. Sorry,
yeah, so that's the case. When you make a mistake, it's like your mood is destroyed, your ego is crushed. You felt even to come back to do your job. Yeah, the Minister of Information. She should have been the one who was informing us what the president was doing in America. We never heard anything from her. So there is so much fear to make a mistake. And when I'm so scared to make a mistake, you're not going to learn, because we learn from mistakes. So maybe the Zambians need to give her that space where they say, no, we are new in government. You're new in government. You've never been in government before. So we're going to give you time to make normal mistakes. But they're deliberate and normal mistakes. The mistakes you make are a part of learning, and the mistakes you make for your personal benefit. So allow us to make mistakes so that everyone can feel free to do what they want to do. The SG made just that comment about the president not shifting to State House. From that, I've never heard from him. It was so devastating.
Ulu say?
So we are not being given space to breathe. Please give us space to breathe so that we can come back to the party. Otherwise, we end up having a government which was sleeping throughout their 5 years because they were scared to make mistakes. Give us room to make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes.
Thank you, Honorable. I think mistakes were meant to be made. So if you're scared of making mistakes, then we're not moving anywhere. So you have to dig in. I mean, if the opposition are very, like, they're coming in so hard, so you also have to hit hard and be vulnerable. I mean, if you have been in the opposition for a very long time, so you should have been monitoring their maneuvering, so you should do as they do. So if that's how you're supposed to do, and not be too careful, because if you're too careful, then you're not gonna move anywhere. Anyway, I'm gonna give Dr. Haimba Tony to kindly say something amongst the topic with which we have the new Bank of Zambia governor and the new AG, new SG, and the coming back of Bally. And we also have our Honorable Mwaliteta. Kindly be brief, because I know that you have a lot at heart. Kindly be brief. We have like 14 minutes before we close. Thank you.
Did you say Haimbe?
Dr. Tony. Haimba. I said Haimba. Sorry if I've mispronounced your word or your name. You are muted.
You are referring to Himba, because there's Himba and I'm Hamaluba Tom.
I actually thought it's mostly men.
Sorry, Hamaluba. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm Dr. Tony Hamaluba. Kindly make your comments or ask your questions, please.
Thanks, Gladys. First, I'll start by appreciating the Honorable Member of Parliament. You are a very knowledgeable person. I appreciate your understanding of the political environment in the country. The way you are thrashing issues, you can make a very good minister. You are very knowledgeable, and that is what we are lacking. The research was not done properly, leaving you not to be a minister. This we are going to promote until you are a minister.
Yes, we are going to make that.
And this is really kudos to you. Keep it up. This should inspire other members of parliament. Honorable, you brought up a very good statement on fear. We all know there's fear, like what my colleague said. Without mistakes, you people will not learn. And the Zambian people are not ready to accept apologies. It's becoming a rhetoric. You have been in opposition for 20 plus, isn't it?
Yeah, 20 years.
Studying different governments. Then today, apologies have to come. It's unacceptable. You have ministers like Jacob Mwimbo. How long has he been in the parliament?
25 years.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And believe me, if this move is going to continue, the Zambian people's frustration is going to shock all of you. So talk to your colleagues when you caucus to say the apologies are becoming a rhetoric. People are getting fed up. You don't do politics like that. Stop fearing. If you are fearing the president, remove that. You are no longer running as a party. You are now government. You have got a lot of eyes that are looking at you. Not only the UPND. It's a lot of eyes, the whole nation. Different sectors. So don't give missiles to opposition. Don't give them meat. Then from there you start complaining that they're attacking you. No. There's a lot of sleeping on the job. We cannot afford to go that way. You can't defend the Secretary General that he's got to get his feet. No. On moral ground, if he feels the pressure is too much, you leave, because it is starving the nation of information. And when there's no information, you give room for speculation. And as you give room for speculation with this social media, you are destroying yourselves from simple mistakes. So if Secretary General Imenda is in the old age of politics of UNIP, whatever, and he's not equal to the task of the modern youth, the way they want things to be done, they should pave way on moral ground and say, this is too much for me, so that the party can be seen to be a threat to PF. That's why you have the guts of people like Given Rubinda talking rubbish, because he knows that these people are cowards. So squeeze them politically. Don't commit to suicide on a tomato plant. Honorable, this is your take. Gladys, before I leave, just one more comment. I'm happy that the government is also putting up a system, and it's very expensive, yes, to build up a system. But as much as it is expensive, it can also work against you if you take too long. And don't take the 2.8 voters for granted. Things can change overnight. Just overnight, things can change. And everyone will be shocked. We thought Bally was the best. People can fail him. So we also appreciate the president's tour to the US. He did marvelous marketing. That is outstanding. Brought the whole world attention on Zambia. Everyone asking, where is Zambia and who is this man? That is incredible. Imagine if we have 5 ministers that are doing that. Huh?
But Tony, we have a few minutes to give to others. Kindly, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Can I give also somebody else to make their comment or a question, please? Because we're running out of time. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. But Honorable, one question for you. What are you doing being aware of all these weaknesses?
Okay. Okay, I think most of them are comments which I appreciate. They are coming from a concerned citizen. We appreciate your concerns, and it's very important for all of us to realize that we are not, there's a problem we need to sort as UPND, okay? As UPND, we need to sort out this problem. So what am I doing about? I think I've been communicating. I engaged the ministers. I engaged the NMCs to say we need to, I think it was yesterday when I told them to say, the SG, let's bring him on board. We're not seeing the SG being active. What is happening? Is he also out with the president? Well, where's the SG? You know, so I've sent a message. When I come back to Zambia, I think I want to visit his office personally so that I can engage him. Just want to understand maybe the challenges he's facing. I'm not engaging him as a member of parliament, but as a concerned Zambian who's UPND. You know, so I'm going to engage him at a personal level and just get to know. But I've sent messages to relevant people to say, please, let's bring the SG on board. I don't see him in our governance system. I've been in Lusaka, I think maybe 3 weeks. I haven't seen the SG coming where we are, us going there. There hasn't been that working relationship between member of parliament and the SG. So I raised the concern, sent a message, and I'll personally go and see him to understand it, because I strongly believe that office is the backbone of the party. Once the SG starts going down, then the government is going down. You can't override it. No matter how good you are, no matter how we think UPND is the perfect match to the Zambian people, we can't forget the backbone. Very soon we'll have nowhere where to put our heads. So the SG has to come to the party, with or without there's no compromise on the function and roles of the we just need him. You know, he's there to continue reminding us on the promises made to the Zambian people. He's there to remind us on our manifesto. He's there to remind us on the people we worked with to be in government. You don't know who's got a link to them. Most of them don't have access to us. They can't come to me because I'm busy. They can't go to the president because of State House protocols. But they should have access to the SG. But there are a lot of Zambians who sacrifice to put UPN UITs today. Should we make a mistake of making them feel used? They'll rise against us very soon. We will not be there where they are, in the same compounds, the same bars they're drinking from, in the same churches they are going, they'll be the campaign UPND. And that's where the party starts crumbling from. So we can't forget those people. But the person to bring them together, it's the SG. He needs to hold the people, you know, the foot soldiers, those who fought hard to ensure that the UPND is in government. UPND didn't come to government by default. There are people who sacrificed, and we can't forget about them. So they need to have somewhere where they can go to. So I'm going to have a meeting with him as a consentist, not as an MP, but very consent, who also is getting the same feedback from the people here. Say, I think your sentiments are the same. Your consent. And you shouldn't take advantage of your consent, because very soon it will become a frustration. And you know, not dealing with frustrated, exposed individuals, you cause political exposed. But we are more exposed in the outer world, especially the diaspora. You have so much influence when it comes to the media, which is social media. You can damage us heavily. So we need to listen to you more. Your frustration should be part of our frustration. We convey the message so that we start doing. I think Linda asked about the mood in parliament. The PF are clever, you know. The PF are clever. They understand the government procedures. They knew to say, for you to be able to talk in parliament, you have to give a maiden speech as a gateway for you to be able to contribute. So if you check the first week after the president gave his speech, it was just PF giving the maiden speech. They done their speech, they done their booking, they were clever. They quickly gave the maiden speech and started talking. Well, us were still learning what to do. So we just woke up last week. I think I gave my maiden speech last week, Friday. So you're going to see more of us now being active, because you see them to say, these guys they're more clever. They're using clever alone, you know. Everything they're ahead of us. You want to do this, you go to the rooms at the motel, they've gotten all the rooms. How they got
You're behaving, Heartson, because you're behaving like you're still in opposition. You need to get in there. You are in the ruling party now.
No, we need to wake up and play their game.
Honorable Mabeta, they are not clever, they are criminals. They are crooks.
But they're ahead of us. They're ahead of us. So they remain clever because they're ahead of us. They're doing things faster than we are doing them.
There's a difference between clever and cunning.
Cunning,
oh,
yes.
They are cunning.
Oh yeah, maybe they are cunning, yes.
Yeah.
They take advantage of the information they have. They don't tell you, then they work on it. Given Winda, complaining about Given Winda, was having a meeting in a constituency where they're going to be by-election very soon. We haven't gone there. I think Gary went there to mobilize a bit, but haven't seen UPND much of activity in that constituency. But we have there. Nagachinda is there. Given Winda is there, they're mobilizing. They want to balance the government by winning that seat. It will be very embarrassing to lose our first by-election as a government. So them are already on the ground doing what they want to do. What they want to do, them just lose confidence in the UPND, which is in government. So they'll work hard to ensure that they win that seat. So we haven't seen UPND getting in that seat in the Eastern Province. Well, Winda is there. The meeting looks small. It's addressing few people. The same numbers start building up. In politics, it's about numbers. So those numbers they're addressing, the numbers are building up. And it will be embarrassed to lose that seat. Our first by-election as UPND, we lose it to PF. Not to be embarrassing. So there's a lot we need to do, which I'm very sure when I get back, you're going to sit down with the SG and just ask him to say, we need your help. Otherwise, you're not in the right space. For you to help us, what do we need to help you as UPND so that you're all moving at the same speed? Otherwise, we are going to have a disaster in that place.
And don't wait for last minute.
Tony, I think we'll be closing soon, and probably we have to open because it's becoming more and more interesting. Especially that the Honorable is saying that those PF are ahead of us, and I'm wondering, why are you still keeping those people in their positions, and why are they not kicked out? Especially that we have a person like you, Honorable, who's got eyes both in front and at the back to see that there are people who really manipulating us. But this is what is confusing the people. Why do you keep on? Why have you kept these people in their seats?
Gladys, just to say, I think you're right. We need to start another one because I've got so many questions from viewers, and they would like Dr. Tommy to have a bit more time and explain his points. They're enjoying his questions and just talking about what he thinks about what is going on. They want more time for him.
Well, Dr. Tommy,
thank you, Linda. This is the end of our program, and we're starting another new program. If Honorable wants to stay, we'll be actually very happy to have you stay so that we have.
Can you do me a favor, moderator? I've got something which was directed to the MP. So I've been waiting patiently, and you guys have been talking amongst yourselves.
Percy, can you give me a second, Percy, please? No, thank you. Can you kindly give me so that I can find out from Vamusha if we could start another one, and then you'll be the first person to ask the question, please.
Yeah, I'm saying keep the MP there. Don't let him go when we start another program. That's the only thing I'm saying.
He's in another country. Let's ask him first because he's in another country.
I'm running out of my dinner time. I'll end up missing the dinner. I could have loved to stay, but I need to have my dinner. Otherwise, I won't be able to do my work tomorrow here. I'll be very weak. So maybe just give me.
All I needed was a minute for you. All I needed was a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, Percy, go ahead. Just ask for 1 minute and kindly keep it short.
Okay. One, I don't. I'll tell you about the markets. The markets, I don't agree with you guys making structures in the market. You are going back to the PF rubbish. That's the first point. The second point, because I have to be short, I wanted to elaborate more on that. The second point is your SG is weak. Not every Jim and Jack you find they're giving press conferences. Things should be approved by the SG. So for me, your SG is weak. And the final one is on rules in terms of corruption. Somebody, who served I don't know how many years in prison, you are caught with corruption, you walk free. I don't think any of these guys will see the prison. So I would like you, when you go to the parliament, you guys, you need to do something about our laws. That's all. I had a lot to say, but we don't have time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Percy.
But next time, please consider him. Why?
Can I also come in briefly?
Okay, then I'll pass my comments after you're done. Yeah, I have to respond to the person, you know.
Yes. Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening. Thank you.
Before I pass my comment, I have one question. How much more time do you need to make mistakes?
Give us 3 months up to December. No, not to be making mistakes, but for you to tolerate the mistakes we make.
Well, Honorable, we didn't vote for you to go and make mistakes. We voted for you to go and represent us. So if you have time for making mistakes, 1, 2 would accept. Not 3 months is too much. As I think we may be in a hurry somehow. Then second, I'm going to go the Bemba way. If in Balanda, in Enalanda, 1 or 2 things. But I'm a practicals, we don't need them. So talk to him, we don't need practicals. And the SG should have been very firm. Thirdly, why did Mwali Teta talk? Because you've left Namushama gaps. So we are filling gaps on our own. No one is there to talk to us. No one is there to feed us information. So we are giving ourselves right and false information. And we end up destroying the party. The Minister of Information, he has not responded. Given Lubinda has talked, why didn't she respond? Who is supposed to respond on behalf of us? That's why Mwali Teta has responded, because the minister is quiet. Given Lubinda is going singing songs, no one is responding to those songs. So how many times do you want us to wait? And mwanjikata kupa mtima mlelanda ati parliament naba michiro olubiro at personal level bale mipoka nama balendesha nokusenda amarumu awe. We will not want to hear that statement next time, Honorable. We believe in you, we voted for you, and we want you guys to present what we believe in you and what we voted for you. Time for mistakes. Honeymoon is gone. We are coming from a great, disappointed society. So we need you to help us to move from our grief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mabeta, I want you to know that this is your platform, and anytime you can always come back. And we, in fact, have an appointment with you next Monday again. You tell us more about your activities in Senegal. And look at this. Just from your experiences in Senegal and the conferences that you are having, it's broadening our discussion here on TV Bakwetu and exposing a lot of things that we can do. And for that, we appreciate. The heat that you are receiving here, I'm very sure that in your long political career, you've seen far much worse than what is the worst thing that Percy and Himba and me can do? We are simply innocent.
We are preparing you, Hudson. We are preparing you for the furnace of fire.
So please, I'll give you just a minute to answer, and then we've got to close. We'll restart the program for those that want to go and discuss anything else.
Yeah, I think, thank you. It's getting interesting and exciting. No, the engagement we're getting here, as I told you, Mamusha, to say sometimes I'll say certain things to provoke. When I get the provoking, then you get the feedback. I'm taking notes of whatever we've been discussing here so that I can pass it to the relevant authorities. So certain things are provoking so that you can see the feelings of the people, the listeners, those who are here to just understand what is happening. So I appreciate. I personally, I think in my political career, I've always respected the need to listen. Listening is part of communication. I rarely interject when I'm talking because I value the importance of listening. It's through listening that you learn. So we should never close our ears, and we should never run out of ability to communicate and engage the people, as ugly as it may be. As ugly as it may be, it's from those ugly statements that we get to understand better things to do. I've made the commitment. When I'm back in Zambia, I'm meeting the SG. That's a commitment to this team, and I'm going to give you feedback. We don't want to crucify him or condemn him before we get the side of his story. We need to engage him. So about engagement. We want to get a win-win statement. There's so much value we get from that man. For the first time, I was talking about the adoption process, which beat the PF. Was one was handling it. They're the products of his good work culture, If he was in a hurry, he would listen. Because there was a lot of pressure in this 2021 adoption. We had 850 applicants to be adopted on 156 seats. Some constituents like Magoy had 37 applicants, and they had to pick one and deal with the other 36. We saw how much pressure was put for us not to adopt Jack Mwimbu, Honorable Garin Kombo, and the Honorable Mwetwa. And you've seen why the PF was so much against those three pillars. What was their contribution? It was Gary was fighting alone in Murumbush when the results were started being manipulated. So they knew who was part of, who are our strong men. So trust him.
Yeah.
He's equal to the task. We'll support him. Yeah.
So Honorable Mabeta, we want you to know that the UPND has all this resource of very hardworking people, extremely knowledgeable, and they have the heart of the country at heart.
Yeah.
So good night. Please enjoy your meal, and we are going to see you next week. We are going to have another discussion with you. Update us on how this week goes. Update us on how things go in Zambia when you are back. This has been a presentation of TV Bakwetu, Elias Monsha here, as well as our TV Bakwetu family and crew and country and nation and everything else. Good night. God bless you and God bless our country. Thank you, Gladys, and thank you, Jerome, and the rest of the team that that held the fort together. Thank you.